What's up, guys? This is Brandon here, bringing guys my director's commentary for the Riverside slasher. This is my third attempt of doing this, and the recording hasn't worked. And I think I figured out because I was using earphones. So we'll see how this goes. But I wanted to talk to you guys about how the process and how I went into wanting to make this. So how it started was in 2022 is July. My friends announced they were coming back to California, coming back from Utah, and I just came up with the idea of wanting to make a movie, making something because that's what a lot of people were saying you should do if you're wanting to make a film, and I just had the idea of making this kind of a slasher film. And it was pretty simple. Originally I wanted to do it in 2 days, but yeah, not a good idea. So eventually, and the other idea was I wasn't going to be acting in the film except as the killer, as the Riverside slasher. That had to change. And I actually had to write a script. I was developing the script after a few days to shoot. I pretty much shot for the stuff, and then story wise. This shot right here, me and the bathroom. This is something I just came up with because I was trying to think of ideas to put in while trying to make this thing happen. And I just liked what I was able to come out with it and how I was able to color grade it and edit it the way it is. So this is still one. This is easily one of my favorite shots in here. But yeah, so the script was originally much more the original, where I wasn't in it as Christian as the asshole friend. It was supposed to be my buddy's dad. Like they're kind of game. They were game for it as long as there was only certain things to do. But ultimately, it didn't end up happening, and I realized, okay, this probably won't work out. My friend even told me. My buddy was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to really work out, especially considering how long it was taking for us to even really get to it. So I rewrote the script, and it was a very dialogue heavy in terms of what the kitchen, the breakfast scene. And it was a very aggressive, very vulgar. So I had to rewrite it. And so I rewrote it in a better way, and it just the movie ultimately is still missing like 30 minutes. Ultimately, I didn't get to shoot just because of ultimately it was life. My friends were busy. They just had their fourth kid 8 months prior, before they left for Utah. So it was in the coming back and stuff like that. So it was hard to, and then they were trying to move into a spot of their own. So yeah, that was definitely it was a tight spot. And then there's one other thing about this scene. I just like the idea of me putting blood on the face after you mix a kill. He puts a face on. He puts his face. He tries to put the blood on the mask. There's just something about the shot that I just really liked, and the way how it turned out. So. But yeah, so with the life stuff going on, so I was trying to figure out multiple ways of, making it work, and, and trying to get this into an hour and a half runtime. And we were never able to get to there. We were close to really being able to actually make it happen. Unfortunately, they had to leave the spot they moved into that. You'll see later on, you'll see a lot of, you'll see the house that they were in. It had a good atmosphere to what I was looking for. I mean just for somewhere to shoot compared to like where we shot, like not like the first place we shot at his house he's currently in now, but it was just it was a different thing. It has a different feel to it. And now here comes the credits. Now there's one. This was kind of this should have been somewhere. Should have been after the opening credits. Unfortunately, that just, this is actually the cut that I didn't cut down. I guess it looks like I believe so. So yeah. So ultimately, this was just kind of I was just like, after doing all this, I could not release this. I just thought it was important for me just to put out what I made. What I was able to put together. Editing was one of the hardest things I realized. I mean, I always knew editing was tough, but even trying to do it, and I'm doing this off the phone. I'm not doing this off, on the off the computer or anything with the camera. Like, this is, you have the tools, and I was using tools that weren't like, I'm not saying the best tools. I was using iMovie, and there was other editing apps I was trying to, I get free trials, so I was trying to work with different things I had. Ultimately, iMovie was the one I just stuck with, because ultimately, when I was trying to get done with, it was just, iMovie was always going to be there. So unfortunately, that's where I had to stick. iMovie's okay, is cool and all, but I think there was some, because they don't have as many options for certain things. This is the house. This is the first shot. We shot it. It was, I believe, it was April's or August 14th, 2022 or something like that. So yeah, the filming day one was this. The first couple shots. There's another shot that was not in here. I go inside you'll see I'm in the house at one point, but there's another shot that is not in here, is with me walking up the stairs and then coming back down, kind of thing. It was supposed to get a kind of it was supposed to be creepy and messed up, because then people were supposed to be up there, but with but I chose to cut that ultimately, and I don't think I even have that footage. I think I have pictures. I have still images of that. I have a poster of that scene particularly, and the way I was shooting this, and the way, or like at least visually wise, this was never going to be like just a regular bright sun. This was always going to have at least a green tint or a different kind of color to it, because I don't like just plain, like, I'm not shooting a comedy like most comedies. Like Van Wilder, I'm just giving an example. Just look at the movie. It doesn't have a style. Again, comedies I don't think need to have a style unless you're an action comedy, or there has, I think for like horror films or anything surreal or and things like that, or drama, like there always is, there has to be kind of a style to the filmmaker, in my opinion. I don't want to be one of those like Joe Johnston. Just one of the guys you hire after something happens to the first director, kind of thing. That's kind of, because that's what happened with like the 2010 Wolfman movie. But yeah, that's kind of what I was feeling with visually, what I wanted. And I was just trying to get the one thing you could say, this is a surreal. So the idea was that my friend Ben's character is starting to have these kind of hallucinations, more of a premonition, I would think. But it was kind of hard to even feel like what a premonition does in a very low budget. But it is really like that, because he sees it coming. He's real. It's not Freddy Krueger kind of thing. Oh, and this is another one of my favorite shots. Just this like look to the hand, and it's bloody, the knife, and then it goes up, and I really liked I like this shot. I still have footage of how it actually looks, without the color. It's something I will plan on posting, because I've been reposting a lot of my stuff. I just like going back at it, because it's just something I am proud of what I made. Even if it doesn't come out, even if it wasn't as ultimately, I didn't get to shoot 30 minutes of the film. At least 30 minutes of what could have been. You know, what's in my head and how it was gonna play out. You know, as someone who's trying to create, it is tough not to see your full vision. And again, this is not being, like I was told by studio you can't do that or cut this, or it wasn't like that. It was just a life thing. And again, and I've told them, like, or like, it's the one thing I totally understand, and it's never I'm never gonna that's never gonna change. And I always will, like, okay, it there were reasons for it not to get done, and there were more important reasons. So yeah, so here's another shot, and these next couple of shots you see were for another was not meant to stay, but it was more about trying to fill in to give cool, just to have a cool things in the film at this point. Again, more of this kind of, surreal, I guess you could look at, especially with how you look at the color of the film, and just you look at how just it feels that way. It feels like a surrealist thing, a surrealist dream. Had a nightmare, and that's kind of the feel I wanted. But there was supposed to be a point. Obviously, it wasn't just a dream or hallucination or anything like that. But again, it's just, that's how it's gonna look like when you watch the movie. Watch this, it's just gonna ultimately look like that completely. So, again, I like really how this shot, and I did slowed it down a bit, in terms of the speed a little bit, and that's there's some things I do regret doing that, because some of them do take longer. Like, it's more of just the outside shots, but again, and just the way I looked with here again. So I think I had 3 different looks in the film. Two different jackets and one, and just so in the opening, I'm just wearing a shirt, or a button up shirt. In a few shots here, it's this just black jacket, and then it has more of a trashier jacket towards the end, which is what I was really going for ultimately. Like, I like this one, but I couldn't use it realistically in the way I wanted to. Whereas the other one, I could get like messed up and trashed if I was ultimately going to get all covered in blood and stuff like that. Ultimately, I didn't. It's something I wish I could have done, because there was one shot I was going to. I wasn't going to be covered in the killer. No, that would have been tricky, because I would have had been covered in it, and then the Christian character would have had been covered in it. So that was going to be kind of tricky to make work. I was going to try to make it work if I could get there, but I should have planned out. That's the one I should have planned out a little bit better, in terms of just when I ultimately some of the last things I shot, where I was just like, okay, I need to get something different from this garage kill, because there needed to be something else. And I think that garage kill was also supposed to be part of the after I leave the breakfast, Christian leaves breakfast and he gets killed. But ultimately, I felt like there's a better scene. Ultimately, what I shot with me in the car, I think that was just ultimately better and fit where it was going next. So, but again, I also I'll say this again, like, I just like the idea of me as the killer. After he kills somebody, he wipes his hand on the mask. I just thought that was something unique to. It was just something I chose to do, and I just continued doing it. I think throughout that I shot here. I think maybe except for the end, but obviously just because it's the way that was shot, I wasn't going to be able to do that. But yeah, again, this was just, again, the way this looks, it has a surreal feel to it, and I do really like that. And the next shot coming up here in a few seconds, again, it feels like a trailer shot. This could have been and I do have multiple trailers. There was one that I know I did that I think I liked better. And it's some of the things I wrote in those I wish I could have done better, or just trying to make a trailer was the challenging part, because I'm editing the movie and I'm editing the trailers. It's like on I had to do that for myself, just because I just to get to someone else to try to put this together as for a trailer, I think would have been tricky. But and that was not where I wanted to go yet. Look, and when I came up with this idea, this was to see what I could do myself, directing and working with people, and it's with people I know, but I would have a direction. So this is the wake up scene. This is where he wakes up from it. Again, dialogue wise, I'm not a writer. He's actually pretty much since I've known him. I really hope so, because he understands the writing process. I think, not that I don't think I understand it. It's the way you write. Like I'm just not a writer in the way he is. Like, I don't like writing is hard. Just trying to come up with a story, and you're writing pages. And look, and the way I was going about this, I was thinking of stuff in my head, and then I wanted to put it on the screen and come up with dialogue kind of later. Again, this was just I was excited and I was passionate about something I wanted to do, and then I kind of just like went all like trying to do it in 2 days. I know that sounds so ridiculous, and I don't know why I think because I thought 2 days was gonna be like, okay, I could get 2 days and we could shoot as much as we could, but ultimately I was just being too what's the word, optimistic about something like that, and I was just like, but that's just, I'd rather be optimistic obviously than not, but obviously just the idea of trying to shoot this in like 2 days, like a few weeks or even a month is more reasonable than 2 days. Maybe if it's a short film, sure, but if it's an hour and a half film, but then again, it's basing on my ability, so you don't know. Yeah, so this is where they were moving into. So this is right before they were moving in. I think he was showing me around just what it looked like, and they were starting soon. But I think they had to wait for some of the workers to do some to kind of underneath the property or something. But yeah, this gave me like what I want, like plus for them being able to move into their own place, it also gave me a really cool filming location to shoot, and where it's actually not the dream sequence stuff. And yeah, it was really cool. Like and I mean, I helped move them in, and I helped as much as I could. Like, I helped do some things around the yard, of course, I mean, but that was besides the movie. That was just me. I'm going to help them because they couldn't do it all by themselves, So I was just happy to be able to help, but also if I could get shots, I would. So I would steal some shots here and there, but it just couldn't get it with everyone. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, time wise. And so this was something we were cleaning up. and he was cutting down some of the branches and stuff like that. So I just thought I would get this as a shot of Ben's character going to the house before before moving day. And I was also testing out doing shaky cam. When eventually I would get to the kill scenes, which ultimately never did, where I would have the camera, and well, that's actually when you think about the tricky part, because I'd be doing the killing scene and someone else would have to be the killer, would have to be the camera and shake camera, do the shaky cam. So that was kind of probably going to be tricky, but it would be like someone down on the ground and just shaking the camera. But I obviously was going to test that first, and this was just kind of a quick test, just the idea. But if we actually got to the part where we could actually start, so what I would do is test footage like him of me doing the kills and it being filmed and the shaky cam happening, and then we get to the point where we could start like the blood being thrown and just like and it just be kind of, and then showing just going fast paced on the kill, me doing the stabbing, things like that, and then blood just being sprayed all over the killer of my character, and then at the aftermath you see the bodies, so kind of thing like that. I was going to have to work around, I didn't have any practical effect people on the set or on working on this, so there was things I was going to have to make it look like stuff happened and blood's happening, but I wasn't going to be able to show like cuts and stuff like that. And it was just like, this wasn't a production that I thought I wanted to hire people, and I maybe, again, now it's probably asking for too much with making a slasher, but to me, it was the most confident thing I was going in for on this thing, was because it was a slasher. I don't feel like good with supernatural or suspense, particularly because you have to build that up now. And that's also, you have to build the suspense on dialogue and character, and now if it was like the original Strangers kind of thing like that, where it's not about the kills per se or seeing blood, but I don't know, I was just going for something I wanted to see, or just wanted to be able to see what I could do with what I had, and could I put that onto screen. I got some really cool shots out of the film. I think visually I know what I like and what I want out of something visually. I don't know. The writing is definitely to be desired, but again, this is not a dialogue heavy thing, so it's like it's hard to tell dialogue, but you could tell once we get to the scene where I'm in the car, that's where you kind of get the idea and that was ad-lib, by the way, so we'll get more into that when we do. But yeah, this was and again, the shoot wasn't like multiple days in a row. It's like did one day for every 2 weeks, and then and again, I would do shots here at my house where it's just involving the killer, or the killer in my other character, Christian. So I have to be kind of creative about that as best as I could. Again, because it's just how I wanted the story to go, instead of changing it up to be with people. Like, could I have used asked my family to be a part of it? Maybe. But it wasn't just like, it just felt like, it's also because it just felt like it was something I wanted to do with my friends, and in the way the story was built on multiple people and stuff like that. So it was just it worked out the way it did. And I do really want to thank my buddy Ben and his family, which I consider them family too. So I do really appreciate for all their help on what I was able to put together, even if it wasn't a complete finished product. Without them, I wouldn't even have anything. It could have just been a short film about a slasher, and maybe I could do something like that. I It could be a sequel, but just about the slasher himself. Maybe that's something I might even think about. What I could do about that. But I would have to come up with something that would be kind of like, I don't know if I mean, there's other ideas. I definitely have one idea. It's that I'm still currently working on. It's in development. It's the screenwriter origins. It's about a writer who's been wanting to get his pitch, produced and made into a feature. But the producer has told him, like, look, we need you to put a slasher in this movie that's already has like 3 different stories going on, 3 different elements, and he says he wasn't ready to make a slasher or knows how to do it completely like the way the producer wants it. And he says, well, you better figure it out or we're dropping your script. So, and it's about him getting a little, he's getting passionate, but also kind of obsessed to a degree to where he eventually goes on a killing rampage. I won't say who he goes after, but ultimately, that's what he does. The ending, I have 2 endings in mind, and I'm not sure. Well, I can tell you the happier ending, or I wouldn't, no, not happy ending, but where the producer, so after the death, or after he makes his rampage, he's going to be in his chair, covered in blood. He either has a smoke or he has a beer. The producer comes over, and he sees the blood, and says, but he reads the script, and he's like, oh, you totally understand the slasher thing, and they both have a drink, and that's where it ends. That still might be worked around with how I want that ending to end, but there's one more ending I'm thinking of, and I'm not going to share that quite yet until I know where. I might share that one if I never get to do this, but I feel 80%, and that's just, being very optimistic that I'll get to do it. Because I told my friend that this is the one thing, if we do one more thing, this is what I want us to do together. This is, if we could get this. Understandably, he has to find some time, and I'm not rushing this at all, because, how's that? It's not gonna work for him, for one. I'm not gonna force someone to do something, obviously. So I'm like, when he finds the time to be able to do it, we'll talk about it, sit down, and get working on that. So this show was one that was inside the house, and they were actually, I showed them this, and they were kind of like, I kind of made it scary for them. It's like, holy, like, you made this kind of scary being in this house. I'm like, I mean, I was just shooting stuff inside to get shots, and it was something I edited because you could tell this, I color graded this too, and it has a much more, with the grain popping out here on the sides, you see, makes it more effective. It's me going inside the room, that I kind of wish I didn't do, because it just ultimately was just like, it kind of takes away, because there's a shot at the end where I turn around and you kind of see outside. I'm like, oh, kind of just, but there's no way around that, honestly, unless I cut a little bit more. Maybe if I cut this a bit more, and maybe, but again, I just want to do a show as much as I could. And it's the way I slow it down, and I think that's probably the biggest flaw for me for editing is doing the slow pace. But again, I'm putting everything together, and I want it to be kind of almost as long as possible. So that is kind of an on purpose thing, but that was just because I'm like, but I think you guys could also see where I was like, well, I didn't get to shoot. There's at least 30 minutes I didn't get to shoot, so that was what I was aiming for. So if I could get somewhere between the 50-minute mark in an hour with what I got, I'll outdo it. And it is it's a, and I would also call this is a very slow burn, which film you would say. Not easy. It's not gonna be on all the time watch. And like how I appreciated my family, friends for helping me with this, I also appreciate the people that watched this, because this probably wasn't, not the most exciting film. The idea, the concept, and if there was more context to what was to certain things going on, I think there's definitely something. But when the context is not there and there's just not a lot of dialogue and just not a lot of other characters in the film, it's really tough. And yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. Again, this is something that I acknowledge, knowing when I was releasing this, that this was going to be how it was. It's not, even if I got what I wanted to shoot, it wasn't going to be perfect. But obviously in my mind, that would have been a lot better to have, the breakfast scene and then the family stuff after, and get to see the family after, and then the death of Christian, and then shit goes downhill. And the ending of the film, we don't know if the wife survives or not. And you'll see the ending, how that goes. So we're the scene where I'm in the car, that's supposed to be the scene after that was supposed to be going back to to Ben and the family kind of thing. So it wasn't supposed to end there, but again, I didn't have that footage to put in there. So ultimately, I did a post credit scene, after credit scene, that hints at what could have happened after that. So that's what I was going for. Whether that works or not, and I'm sure you guys are smart enough to understand to understand that what I was going for with that. Again, but context context is, can be everything. You can be smart and be like, where's the context, or what happened, where's this going, kind of thing. And I totally get that. So this is another one of the long shots that I probably should have cut down a little bit. But again, I was just, trying to get as much footage as I can and get something visual, some nice looking shots. So I was like, might as well. But that shot doesn't make sense as much as this shot before, because it looked like the killer's point of view. But this is the moving day scene. So this is where everyone actually is technically here that was working on, that was supposed to be in the 30 minutes that I didn't shoot. Also, you can notice in the background on the mirror, the window, that you could see me shoot. That's why I'm trying to be careful not showing, because I noticed that before, but it was hard. I couldn't cut that out from this. And if you notice coming here, my friend is going to come around the corner, and he's going to, but I cut there, but he it's like a meta shot, or it's he's breaking the fourth wall kind of thing. And I was like, I had to cut that. As a blooper, it would have been funny, but I don't know if I have that footage either, where, again, this is the footage I have. So that cut footage is, on my other data that's no longer get. So it's unfortunate, because I think there's some stuff that I wish I could have, brought in. And there's one more shot that I did find, and I put it back. It's posted on my Instagram, and maybe put it back in here at some point, but I probably would have done that before um, doing this commentary. So, but yeah. So this was just a look of the idea of it, how the house looks, and which I think this is. I think this was cool to shoot. It was Ben's idea. It's like, hey, buddy, hey, get some shots, start shooting. Again, this is supposed to fit with them moving in and the family, and this is where the breakfast scene. Obviously, the breakfast scene was going to take place too, but just unfortunately, it didn't happen. But now I think I'm finally going outside now, and this is now getting shots outside. I like it once I get outside because it looks kind of nice the way it's shot. And this was at night. I think this was at 8 or 9 at night that we were moving stuff. Because we had to go back and forth to my buddy's other place, family house. So, but again, you can kind of see the atmosphere that this was giving, and been really cool to see some really other shots. What would have happened in the rest of the movie if I got to shot them. But doing this commentary has really helped me wanting to speak out, because like I've done I've done live chats and stuff like that. But this feels where I can really talk and not just and you can watch and listen to me at the same time, which might be more interesting than the movie I released. So there's that, I guess. Unless you don't find me that interesting, which is totally cool and warranted. But anyway, but yeah. So that's like Ben and brothers and sisters, or his wife's brother and sister, which is. I mean, his family too, pretty much. But yeah, that was his son. So there's people out there just couldn't shoot them like straight up like the way I would like to. Well, obviously they're worrying about getting stuff into the house, obviously, but also just because they weren't like or were really ready to like be filmed. So, but I was able to get things and them on camera, and I'm sure there's going to be because doing this commentary, I'm not hearing anything. I'm not hearing the sound. So this is probably going to be over. It will be over the over the movie. So, but yeah, I just So I think next I'm moving over to one of the other rooms, and again this has kind of a found footage feeling, but this is supposed to be kind of I guess like the killer's point of view. Oh, so there's also, because I forgot to even mention this in my other attempt at doing this recording, which has really been annoying, just in terms of I recorded it fully last night, but it didn't keep the recording. I'm like, why didn't it keep the recording? And it's just like, and the other time my friend called and it canceled the recording. I'm like, oh my god. Oh man, did I just lose my train of thought on that? Yeah, I just forgot. Damn, I just had it, but so okay. So talking about, I had multiple other ideas after doing this and trying to put it together. I was still trying to talk about doing a sequel, or some other other different stories, and I would actually bring them up. I don't want to get my iPad right now. But yeah, it was just I had an idea for part 2. It would have been a different cast, just because even if the ending doesn't mean the wife of the first film died. I was never gonna go back to that sequel or that sequel idea because it just doesn't fit. I mean, technically it does because it should be about her wanting revenge, but just ultimately that was just not gonna work out. Just due to
Love
she was gonna
her.
be busy, and I was just like, look, if I'm doing a sequel, I'm not. It's gonna be a new story. It's gonna be new characters, which I don't always like. Obviously, I know a lot of people don't like that all the time, but for that situation, it makes sense. And I think I had ideas, and I was already in. I think I was writing a script early on, but I just never just came around to get it off the ground because then I had other ideas I wanted to do, but then those never took hold. And then the screenwriter origins idea came about, but I didn't talk to Ben about it, or I didn't really get involved. I've mentioned to him before, but I just didn't really. Until recently, I told him about it, and I'm like, I did tell him like, look, this is the one I really want to do, and I want you involved. And he said, yeah, I'll try to help you make it. Just have to find time. And all I can do is appreciate that try to help me do that. If we can find time, that's cool. If not, I understand absolutely. So, but this time it's only gonna be like a 10 to 15 minute short, 15 max, because I just realized how difficult this was. So yeah, this whole scene, this is all ad-libs. Yeah. I kind of have an idea in my mind what I was going to say. Yeah, this is my performance. Me trying to perform in front of a camera. I love shooting because I'm in the car, I'm drinking, pissed off. My character's pissed off because he thinks he has these hallucinations. He thinks are real, premonitions, whatever you want to say it is. He's just really pissed off, whatever. I'm trying to play different because I'm not like that towards people. The one thing I do wish I would have changed was the names. Because I'm the Riverside Slasher and I'm Christian. That's all I changed, and everyone else has had the same name. I'm like, why did I do that? Now I learned from that, obviously. So for the screenwriter origins, he's not gonna be Ben, but it's gonna be something else, or just the screenwriter. But yeah, it was something I totally regret. Now I think I ruined. I just lost it again. That's frustrating because I had it, but when this, I shot this. I ended up putting this in slow mo because I think I was going faster. I don't know if I regret doing that or not. I think it still looks cool. Just I don't know. So this is where I was supposed to. The Christian character is supposed to come out of the car, or out. His body's out and he's covered in blood. But this was the best shot I could do. His blood in the hand again, which is like the third shot of me with the blood in the hand. Or actually, no, there's 4 shots of blood on the hand. 3 of them are from the backside. So yeah, this is the end of the film. But I also did give associate producer credits to Ben and Amber because I think they did help. They were a part of it, and I wanted to do that. So yeah, this is the post-credit scene. So this is where, that shot where where my character Christian gets killed. That's where it's supposed to go to the family, to Ben's family, and that's where that shit goes down. And then eventually this part is where me walking to the next family, or even Christian's family. Who knows? But yeah, so this is going to take a little bit, but ultimately I think it was worth it. It gets to a really cool shot that goes really cool. Like, that just was a total accident. I don't know how I did it. Because I was trying to figure out how the fuck did I do that shot. And it'll be in there in a few minutes. But, oh, okay, so... Oh, yeah, so now I just remembered what I was... Okay, so the I think the one... My Ben came up to me and said, what if Christian was the killer? I did think about that a few times. But ultimately, I didn't want to go that way. Because I just felt like that would have been too obvious. And I just... And obviously, I'm trying to play an asshole version of a best friend. But I didn't want to go that far. Like, it just would have felt just... It didn't feel right to me. I just wanted to be someone who... It wasn't related. Related, or, you know... I didn't want it to be a friend or family member kind of thing. So... But that was thought about. And I think even my sisters, even my mom was saying, why don't you do that? Why don't you make it being you? Because that would be like, it would not make sense, but it would just make sense. It makes more sense to why the friend is being an asshole. But no, because but you see that therein lies that thing, is like, he doesn't buy into what Ben is saying. So why would he get mad about that? If, you know, he thought that was bullshit, and ultimately he's the killer. It's like, I just didn't want to give him that but the reason why he says that is because he was the killer. I don't like that kind of, that idea, but again, the way this is shot, and this has shot me from what, because one day I was thinking about, I needed something, I was wanting to do something for the end that could relate, like, could tease something else. And I shot this. This is me walking from the mailbox back to my place. And yeah, so this was definitely... and again, I slowed this one a bit. I slowed this one down too. But I really, really... Again, like I like this scene. Mainly for that last shot and the last couple shots of just the way I just look in terms of as the killer. Just that vibe. It felt like it worked. The look worked for me, I guess. That was the one thing I was surprised how much I actually liked, was the look. Because I went through 3 different jackets and 3 different, or 2 different jackets and then different pants. I ultimately went with, and this last thing, you'll see I was in boots and other pants that I would want to get. My other was like actually in some of my nicer jeans and and a nicer shirt. I still think I had a nicer button-up shirt underneath, I believe, but it wasn't like but yeah, it wasn't, but it was. I wasn't going to use the jacket. That was just for that I mean, I was thinking about it, but when I realized I was going to have to use I was going to use blood, when I was obviously planning on doing that, I needed to find something that was much more trashy. But that was another way to notice it was also not not the whole dream was like, visually it was different. What was different was that the different looks I had. It was either I was wearing a shirt, and then I had a jacket in another scene, but then I had something different. And ultimately, when you do see the real person, so there was, in a way, it was hinting at this person is real, but we don't know if that look was the same as what he was dreaming. So. Or having so you can look at it that way too, that it wasn't I don't know, there was something about that I was like, I thought that was cool too. Obviously it was that was something that was a me thing, and I was going for looking at different looks and what I wanted. Um, and I'll admit this, I definitely had a Rob Zombie Halloween 2 kind of feel with the jacket thing and you'll see towards the end and how what I was going for, and it's just like there was that look. I liked it, so I borrowed it. Uh, and I think I do hate the thing of like borrow, or I dislike, wanting to borrow stuff, but again, everyone borrows stuff. It's about how do you do it differently. As I did the best for what I could do, or it's just something I thought was cool, and just let's see what I could doing that. But yeah, again, visually, I'm happy with how the film looks. Again, it really just comes down to not a lot of dialogue and not enough character interaction, and kills. Obviously, not enough of that. So that's the tough part for me. I mean, I know I've gone over this a few already in this. It's the tough part, knowing that the potential, just the potential of what I could have tried with what I was going to try to do, even if it doesn't work, and it looks ridiculous. But it would have been cool to be able to do that, to film those things. I think the challenging stuff. I mean, the kill scenes would have been challenging, but just the dialogue stuff. Okay, so I actually have something written. What is that going to sound like with some of the dialogue that's actually people talking to each other? How was that going to look? Because that was going to be my more challenging, is getting it to feel natural, and I feel like, and that's why writing for me is a tough thing. But that you're also writing for people you work with and get a sense of. Like, my friend Ben is a talker. I mean, in the best way possible. He's has a great personality, and he can just have a conversation. So I felt like trying to get that natural wasn't going to be hard, but it's going to be the dialogue I write is going to be the challenge to make that for me. So in a way, I wanted to play, an 80, ad-libbing, because that seems like that would something he'd actually be into, because that just the personality that's his. I feel like his personality would go that way. But he was all in on me doing what I wanted to do, because he said it was my film. But I also said, look, if there's something you want me to, change, or you want to do something on your thing, we can do that. But I mean, obviously we didn't get a lot of opportunities to do that, obviously. So, yeah, it is what it is at this point. But I mean, is it something, do I always, but the reason I keep on coming back and posting things about this, because I do like my time. I loved trying to making this. Even overall, didn't get it 100% completed the way I wanted it. And not a lot of people would say they love everything. And look, I know Rob Zombie I think still doesn't care for House of a Thousand Corpses because he thought it was bad, or he thinks it was his worst movie. I don't know if he still feels that way, but he feels like he made a lot of mistakes. But I like that, not because I think that's a bad movie or anything like that, but he acknowledged his fault in what he was on that film and the things that were going on. Look, as a filmmaker, you're going to admit to your faults. As an artist, you're not going to love everything you do. Hell, like, my sister is an amazing artist, and she draws, she does chalk drawing, and she still doesn't love everything she does. She doesn't think she does. And you would be like insane, oh my god, you're great. But again, I think that comes with being someone who's creative, being artistic and stuff like that. You're never going to see yourself, you're going to always see the negative aspects of what you're making. and I think that's good to have. Even if you don't want to feel, obviously we never want to feel negative in what we do, but you're not going to be, I don't want to have an ego about what I'm making. What I'm, I put this out, I'm not this isn't the best thing I've ever watched, or it's the best thing I've made so far, sure, but it's because it's the only thing I've made so far. But again, that's just but that to me, that artistic thing is always going to be there, where people won't always love their things, and I think, that's them again, because as a director also, when you're making something, it's you're shooting it, your vision of it, it's your film, you're wanting to shoot it for yourself. And some people, I think, feel like kind of it's weird, but no, it's not, because you are filming. I don't, if you're like, unless you're a director to be hired or something like that, for a generic project, sure, I don't know if that's really your vision, but but usually a director is making a film to shoot their vision and what they want to see, and that's what you want. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, that's you truly want the director's vision of anything, but specifically movies here. That's all you want, you want the director's true vision of what they're selling and what they're making, because it's honest to what they want, to what they're doing. I don't want that fake, movies getting reshot or taken away from the directors because the studio's like, well, it's not gonna make money, or you don't like that, we think that's shit, that's not good, so we're gonna go for 30 days or a week, reshoot the whole movie, like, or 80% of a movie, and it's just like, yeah, well, that's the shittiest thing. I mean, I know even smaller productions. I know Rob Zombie went through this on Halloween and Halloween 2, and geez, man, like, and unfortunately for him, in terms of like budget, those were the highest budget films of his career, and he never really got to get back to that. And that's, because ultimately after that, I think he did that Supernatural Witch movie, if I have it, I can't remember on the top of my head. 31, that was well, the Witch film was actually produced by Blumhouse. It's one of the first Blumhouse productions. Only cost $1 million, but I don't think it did well. And then he had to go to the so right here's the scene that's coming up, that it speeds up really fast. But Rob did the 31, but that was an indie project. That was actually a Indiegogo thing, or something like that. It wasn't an Indiegogo he used, but it was I forget what you call it, but you know what I mean. Something similar to Indiegogo. And then eventually he got to go do 3 from Hell, and then he did The Munsters. And look, he's tried to get other movies like Broad Street Bullies, which was a hockey movie about the Philadelphia Flyers. He tried to get that made for so long. A boxing movie called Tyrannosaurus Rex. I apologize if I did not say that right. No, I did not. T-Rex. It was a boxing movie that was going to be with Tyler Mane, but that didn't happen. He was attached to the Blob remake at one point. So there's things but again, the Broad Street Bully and the T-Rex one, which were very different from what he's doing, and he just was never given the opportunity because people only knew him for horror. And so yeah, his last movie he did was The Munsters, which was his best critically. His last two movies were his best critical, except best reviewed films. I think Monsters was at a 58%, and I think 3 from Hell is at a 55, 56, which I know is not high, but if you look at Rob's, like, House, Devil's Rejects, and Halloween 2, we're all in the under 30%. Lords of Salem might be at 45%, I think, maybe. So it was Lords of Salem was the witch one, but so yeah. But so here's the shot. This is like, I don't know how this happened. I'm so glad I was able to keep this, and I did not get rid of this shot at all, because this just like, again, this is an accident. I don't know how I did that, and I'm glad it's still here. Now, it probably would have helped if the thing was cut down a little bit sooner, maybe on the post credit scene, but yeah. And so this is just me with blood coming down on the shoe. Again, I was just trying to get some of the blood. Again, I wanted more blood, and also this blood that I had was just not the best kind, because it would just dry up really quick, and it's just really frustrating. But there was no point of getting more blood, since I was going to need it. And that's why I wanted to do the scene at the car where the killer kills Christian, and I would have been dosed in blood. I think I was going to try to do it both. Like I said earlier, I was going to want to do both, being covered in blood. So like I said, this is supposed to be after I come back from that stuff we don't see. Like what happened? I mean, but like I'm saying, there could be help. Could have been. The wife is the one that had it. She could have survived. I'm just saying that. Could have. Might or might not have. So, might have survived. So, a lot of people, a decent amount of people died. We just don't know if the wife survived. That's how it was.